everyone. Happy Friday. Today is a live show. We're legit live. So you are welcome to comment and ask us questions and talk to us today. Hannah was not able to come today, but I am here with our very special guest. Her name is Jessica Pearson, and she is a certified life coach, weight loss coach, nutrition coach. She's got all the certifications, and she loves to work with lawyer moms. Like, we are her people. And as y'all know, here at Law Moms Out Loud, we like to help lawyer moms grow as lawyers and moms and as people. So we're super excited to have you here with us today. Jessica, thank you for joining.
Yes. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I do love all of my lawyer clients so much.
Yeah. And Jessica and I were just chatting. It's so funny because, like, before we start the show, we're here, getting ready to do tech testing, but we can't talk about that much stuff that we want to talk on the show. So we were talking about where we live, and we both are born and raised in Austin, Texas, which is like very, very, very rare for people of our age. I mean, there's lots of kids who were born here, but
Yeah.
not a lot of grownups who were born and raised in Austin. So we're Austin unicorns together.
Yeah. I feel like we find each other. It's like an inner circle that just magnetizes.
It's true. It's always fun when you find someone else. So Jessica, maybe you could start by telling us about the work that you do, but also, what's your overall philosophy? Because gosh, I mean, you can find sort of any angle on this topic that you want to, from don't do it, don't worry about it, don't think about it, any sort of trying to adjust your eating or one's nutrition is bad and a waste of time, to, a little extreme. And so where are you on this spectrum of diet and nutrition and all of that business?
I love that question. Thank you for asking. And this is something that Beth and I talk about a lot, and we do address it on our podcast, Wait a Minute, as well, because there is kind of this polarizing. You either are very adamantly anti-diet, body positive, or, you're not, and you're in this other camp where you're dieting all the time or trying these things, or maybe even lacking some of the education about it. And it seems like you're supposed to pick this side, but we've always kind of said that we're in the middle, because we do believe that you can desire to change your body, you can desire to prioritize health, and we don't have to do it from a diety perspective where it's really extreme or mentally or physically taxing on our bodies, because that's usually where most diets are, right? They ask you to take an extreme set of actions for a temporary amount of time, which is challenging, and then you're not even getting permanent results. So we're looking at it very holistically, and clients do come to us for a variety of reasons. Not everybody wants to lose weight. Some people just want to take better actions towards themselves, and weight is not necessarily the goal, but then it ends up being a part of the big picture anyway.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. And the people who come to you and they find you, what's going on with them typically? Are they, feeling bad? Are they not loving their body? Are they, they've been through years of like, I'm going to try keto, or I'm going to try this, and they've had some success. And then where are most of the clients who find you in terms of mindset and desire?
Yeah. A lot of people have been dieting. Like most women over 30, I think, all women have been subjected to a diet in one way or form or another. I think our culture and our society has kind of taught us, like, yeah, we're supposed to always want to be smaller. We're supposed to always be chasing this dream of losing weight or something. And so we've all been subjected to that. And people usually come to us really worn out by that, but yet they still feel tired all the time. They know that their relationship with food is like a little off. And I don't think it has to be in a disordered sense. They just know that they come home, from a long day in court. They haven't been eating all day because they've been busy. And then they get home and it seems like they're just eating so much at once. And then they feel really weird and bad about that. There's just these like patterns and behaviors that they have some awareness of, about like, this can't really be sustainable and I don't feel good, but I'm not really sure how to change it without going on a diet. So what's the next step?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes me think about, I talk about my sobriety journey a lot and how I was a gray area drinker before I got sober. And one of the indicators that someone is a gray area drinker, and like, they're fine, they're not alcoholic, right? Their life is going fine. But one of the ways that you might be a gray area drinker is if you're of two minds about it. So on the one side, you're fine. You just want to let loose. You just want to have a good time. What's the problem? And you've got this voice in your head that's like encouraging about alcohol use. But then you also have this other voice in your head that is the opposite, that has shame or regret, or at least that you're engaging in some type of escapism or numbing through alcohol use. And it's like, depending on where you catch yourself in the moment, you might be of those two minds. And the flip-flop is an indication of a gray area drinker. And I think this is true for me too with food. And it sounds like what you're saying, based on some of the clients that you have, that's also sort of an indication that something new should be tried. If you're like, I'm fine, I'm doing this thing, I'm sticking with my plan, it's going well, or you're giving yourself a hard time about your relationship with and your behavior around food. And it's just like the flip flop. Is it like the lack of sort of steadiness and constancy that's an indication that there's an issue?
Yeah, I think if you're having that mental conversation or battle where it's like, on one hand, I want to love myself and take care of myself, but on the other hand, this entire bowl of queso and these 6 margaritas sound really good right now. That can be really challenging. And really what it is, especially for lawyers and attorneys, it's like, it's stress, right? Or like, we're just trying to, like you said, numb out or escape kind of this sense of not feeling maybe the freedom or fun or play in our lives, or we're not receiving the pleasure that we need in other areas of our lives. And so it's so easy to seek it out with food and or alcohol. And I think you do know inherently, like if we listen to ourselves, like, okay, there is something off. But a lot of times, it's like, am I beating myself up because I know there needs to be change, or is it beating myself up that I can just change? I don't know if that makes sense. Like for some people, it's like, oh, I think I want to lose weight, but they're just so hard on themselves in their mind. And part of the reason why they can't take the actions towards weight loss or the actions towards finding, better health is just because of what's going on in their mindset. So a lot of times we have to start with just the mindset without even thinking about some of these bigger actions that might be necessary down the road to make a bigger shift, because that is what blocks us from taking the action, is that constant barrage of, self-hatred and self-loathing.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do? What's like, let's say someone comes to you and they're in this back and forth. They've been trying it all. It's not working. They're busy. They don't have time to meal plan on Sunday and go and make all their lunches and pack them in nice little containers and have everything all planned out and done. And they're like, what do I do? I want to have, a smooth, healthy relationship with food. I'm too busy to do like the right way. What's step one?
Well, it's like, what is the right way? Because what you just described is like one way to do it. And I think in a lot of our minds, we're like, that's the perfect way. That sounds like it should be perfect. And this is what I kind of touched on with you before we started, was I think I attract these high achieving clients, these women who are seeking these levels of excellence and perfection. And we kind of get into this all or nothing thinking trap of like, I have to meal prep, I have to follow through at 100%, or it's not going to work. It's not going to be enough. I'm not going to find results. So, hey, I flubbed up. I might as well just give up. I might as well quit. I'm going to go into the nothing instead of the all. And what we talk a lot about is 1% change. We talk about what is one small shift that we can focus on this week. Sometimes it's just, can you add a vegetable to your cheeseburger they're, grabbing, but, like between cases or whatever, like how can we just take one small step and achieve that, so that kind of lands and offers self-trust and more confidence. And then we can build on top of that. So the challenge there is that it's not enough. Thought will come back, because in your mind you're like, well, I should be working out an hour every day, I should be doing blah 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 blah. And if we're not doing it, it just doesn't feel like enough, when it's like, well, if we can compound these 1% changes over the course of 3 months, 6 months, a year, that overall is going to be a shifted lifestyle that's creating more results and more permanent results over time.
Is exercise always part of the equation for you?
I think it's important. I wouldn't say always, and it's not even necessary to make the effort or change that needs to be changed. I just am a big proponent of it because I think that moving is really important for our bodies and our mental health in so many ways, not just how we look or feel. So, um, that is something that we work on. I'm not a fitness trainer, so I'm not laying out plans for people like, hey, here's what I think you need to be doing. I think it kind of what we talk about is, do you have any movement that feels joyous to you? If not, let's go explore some different ways to move and what would be fun for you. Like if that's yoga or pickleball or, just walking around the block listening to your favorite podcast, it could be any of those things. It doesn't have to be, oh, I have to go to Orange Theory or I have to do boot camp every morning at 5 a.m. Like it doesn't have to be so extreme. It's just, let's find something that invigorates you and that is fun for you.
Yeah, it's like similar to the answer about food. And what's the deal with pickleball? I feel like everybody's talking about pickleball. And I went to the Texas Conference for Women, and they had a whole like pickleball booth.
Yeah, it's the fastest growing sport in the nation right now.
Why? Do you know? I don't know anything about it.
Well, I will say, before it was trendy, we would go to my husband's parents' house in Florida. They live in a retirement community and they had pickleball. And this was maybe like a few years ago. And we played and I thought, gosh, this is so fun because it's like tennis, but you don't have to work so hard. So I think it's more approachable than tennis. It's not quite as competitive, although I'm sure it can be very competitive. I don't know. I think it's just
and like
easy.
Probably you can have fun as an amateur. Like the amateur phase is still fun. Most sports like tennis, when you suck at it, it's just so not fun because you're just chasing the ball the whole time,
Yes. And I think that happens too. Like Beth and I have also talked about like when you're maybe a college athlete or even a high school athlete, but you no longer want to compete or sport at that level, what is left for the rest of us? And I think pickleball fulfills that need to have that amateur entry level spot for a lot of people.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like there's something to it. I might have to maybe we'll do a Law Moms pickleball show. I don't know how we would make a show into it, but I'd love to hear how this became your thing. What happened in your journey that brought you to this point?
Gosh, well, in my previous life, and this is how I know our mutual friend, Elizabeth Elias, I used to work in event planning and hotels. And she was actually my boss a long time ago, and she was just the best. And that's where we were planning events. Like I loved food, and I thought my passion was to go to culinary school. And so I started there and I went to culinary school, and that's where I met my now business partner, Beth. And she is a registered dietitian, and she was at the time. And it just kind of organically grew where I started helping her with making meal plans for her clients. And she had clients who were taking food sensitivity tests, which we still do to this day, and they needed support figuring out, how do I do this, protocol where I can only eat these 30 foods for like a week and still feel like it's successful. So I was doing that with her, and then I started doing more health coaching as I got more certifications. And what we witnessed and experienced was everybody thinks they want the meal plan, right? They think, hey, just tell me what to do. Can you just tell me what to have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Give me a grocery list. Give me some recipes. I will go do it. I will follow through, and I'm going to get my results.
Mm-hmm. I've said those exact words.
That's what everybody thinks that they need to succeed. And so I was like spending all this time and energy. I made the most beautiful meal plans, right? And then clients were like, didn't do it. They don't do it. And that's totally fine. So I thought, gosh, what are we missing? There is something missing. And then on the other side, sometimes clients would come in and just in that first appointment, they would just unload. We really noticed how emotional our connection is with food and all of these, little traumas, big traumas, and just life experiences that create our belief systems around what we eat and why we eat and what we think about our bodies. And, women would just be bawling in our office, and Beth and I would be like, here's the number to a therapist. Like, we're unqualified to support you. And that was maybe like 6 years ago. And we thought, we're missing something. There's got to be more. We can't do meal plans. This is not it. So that is when we did the eating psychology course, which really built the gap to be able to offer some of this more, mind, body nutrition and really help people connect with how they physically feel in their body. And that's also when I decided to do the certified life coaching, because I realized we take action, a lot of us, from a place of emotion, and a lot of our emotions or feelings are coming from how we're thinking, which is why I mentioned that whole mindset process before. It's like, if I'm constantly thinking like it's not enough, I don't like myself, I'm just beating myself up all the time, I'm not going to feel inspired or motivated or committed or anything that's going to really drive me to even make a 1% change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is why the little successes, maybe you're not going to have the big results or whatever right away, but you take these little successes and build and build and build, and pretty soon you trust yourself to do what you say you're going to do, and you start feeling better, and then you take bigger steps and bigger commitments. And
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And we talk about learning to fail along the way, right? Because you might try 1% and that might be hard at first, and then you fail.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in that all or nothing diet culture, we fail and we just quit. Or we stay stuck in inaction because we're seeking perfection and we're worried that we're going to slip up. When it's like, what if I told you you're going to slip up 100 times over the next year?
Okay, this is good for me because, as you might imagine, I have like two things, and I'm happy to bring them to the public. One is tracking food and macros. So my husband started doing a program called Stronger You a couple of years ago, and he was assigned macros and like has his food scale and legit will like measure his oatmeal in the morning, and he's got a 6-pack. I mean, it's like I have evidence in my own house of how well this works. And I have attempted, I don't know how many times, to like, okay, I'm just going to track my food. Like, all I have to do is enter it into my Fitness Pal. And the whole point is not like, I'm not on some crazy, I got to guardrail my diet or whatever, like significantly alter my behavior. But it's just, I know that I want the education that comes with entering my food and seeing what that does to my macros, because I start to get that in my brain, and then I start just making choices naturally. But like, I don't know what it is. I have a block. I cannot get myself to actually go in and enter the food in the stupid app. So.
Well, for one, you called it a stupid app. So that tells me for you.
Okay.
That tells me for you, it's like, that's not aligning with you and who you are as a person. Like, you actually don't want to use this stupid app. That's not for you. And I would wonder what your husband thinks about the app. Like, is he calling it stupid? But and so it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't know. It is fascinating because I don't want to gender box men versus women, because I know it can, there's just like data people, and then there's kind of just less, I don't know, people that are more emotionally driven. And I think you can be both. But some people find it really annoying and constraining to log everything, and that's okay.
Yeah. But then I don't get the education that comes with it. And I guess I just have to like be okay with that.
Yeah. So there's two ways that you can go about it, right? So on one end, you could coach yourself to use the app. Like, we could coach you to where you think the app is super helpful and like it's going to give you the best results and you enjoy doing it. Like, we could get your mindset to be there, or we can like work with where your brain already is and find another route. But in any action, I still think these other thoughts, like the root thoughts of why maybe the first one is hard, is still going to come up. So there's many roads to Rome. And that's why I think it is unique. And that's why I like the one-on-one coaching, because everybody's brain is, operating differently and coming from a different perspective.
Yeah, I think I like that. I can see that. And, because I truly believe that like we, personal responsibility, and everything comes down to a decision. And if I'm not engaging in some behavior that I say that I want to engage in, that's because I have decided not to prioritize it.
Yes.
Somewhere from the thought to the inaction. There was a decision that was made. And so I hear you saying, like, let's pinpoint, let's like get investigatory, if that's even a word. And like, where is that decision point happening? And then either change the decision or go down a different pathway.
Correct. Yeah, it definitely all starts with a decision. And a lot of us live in that indecision of, do I want to do it? Do I not want to do it? We're not putting our whole self in, right? We're like, I'm just going to put a toe in and see if it works. And then we don't actually even give it a chance to work.
Right.
But I also do want to address that, there are other things that play a role. I think when we're doing MyFitnessPal, like that is primarily, it's either macros or calorie tracking. And there are other components outside just calories and macros. Like they play a role, but it's not everything. Our hormones are a big picture.
Mm-hmm.
So if your leptin and ghrelin, which are your hunger and full signals, that can be disrupted by irregular blood sugar, like dysregulated blood sugar because of the types of food that you're eating, which could be more macros than calories. Your body fat, when we have a certain amount or not enough, can also disrupt our leptin and ghrelin signals to either make us more hungry or not hungry enough for food. So it's not just like a matter of, if I just follow this, amount of calories, like that experience is not the same for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So some people are like, it's harder for me. And it kind of sounds a little victim-y, but it can actually be more challenging. There's other things that need to be addressed along the way for certain people.
Yeah. And so normally that's going to start with probably doing some blood work and going to see the doctor and the endocrinologist and all that, figuring all that stuff out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How often is sugar addiction a thing for your people? That's another one I've got.
I mean, it's pretty common. Yeah. Sugar is one of those things that it's quick, fast, and dirty. If you think about sugar cane, like where it came from and how we used to consume it as humans, it was just people like gnawing on a fibrous stick and it gave them a little sugar high, but they also swallowed all this fiber. And so it was kind of like a balanced thing. And then of course we took it and colonized it and made it white and, just like, it's really refined energy. And the way that I like to talk about sugar is it's extra energy. It's the most concentrated form of energy. We never say a food is good or bad. If all food is medicine, what is the dose that's going to be appropriate for you and me? Some people's brains are more wired to have that like kind of addictive response to sugar than others. Like they're either releasing more serotonin or dopamine when they're eating it than maybe some other people, because I do hear some clients that are just like, it really is all or nothing with me with sugar. But yeah, it's really common. Unfortunately.
It's interesting that different people might have different like addictive reactions to it or, body reactions to it. And I like what you said about it's not the food that's bad. This is something that my older kid has a nutritionist, related to like some health stuff that was happening. And we're going through the whole business of, what's this kid unable to eat or can't tolerate the gluten, et cetera. And the nutritionist always says that to us every time. Remember, as you're talking to your kid, the food is not the bad guy. It's not that, gluten is bad for you. It's that your body just can't tolerate that right now. And that mindset starting out so young, as we talk to the kiddos about not making certain foods bad, is really critical. This business of talking to our kids, I'm sure that's something you deal with all the time.
Yeah, I do. I think sometimes when people come to us for their kids, it's like, where can we start with you too, right? It's like, how are you talking about food is just as important as what we're saying to them about it. And, I have a 2-year-old who has discovered, like, he knows he can go into the pantry. He says, like, I want a cookie for breakfast. And it's like, no, this is my boundary. You can have a cookie, but not for breakfast, right? And so it's like, how do we talk to them about these things? So yeah, it's just like if all food has a dose, what is the dose for you? It's going to be different for us based off of our preferences, our bodies, our health status, our goals, everything.
The kid thing, talking to kids and girls, I think in particular, but probably all kids, about body issues as they age. I mean, I think we've had such a societal shift. Of course, we have a long way to go, but in doing the research in preparation for this show, there's this whole thing on TikTok right now about almond moms. Have you heard about this?
I saw one TikTok on it and I just like, get this out of here.
It was like I learned this in this article that the Hadid models, their mom was on The Real Housewives. Did you know this? I didn't know this. And there was some scene where she was like coaching one of the girls who later became a supermodel to, like, she was really hungry. She'd only eaten an almond, but she was like, just chew it. Just chew it for a long time, I think was the scene. I'm reporting this from something I read in an article, but that certainly wasn't the conversation that was going on in my home, but that was societal, cultural. I was on the drill team in high school, and we got weighed in every week at school, at a public school event. I would go and stand on a scale, and my coach would be like, you gained 5 pounds this week, and this was in the late 90s. And I just cannot even fathom that occurring. I mean, maybe it does, but it seems to me like societally we have come far.
Gosh, I really hope so. I've never heard that. And I've had friends on drill team. Oh my gosh, and I was a dancer growing up, and thank goodness nobody ever weighed me.
You were on the McCallum.
I was not in drill team. I was like a modern dancer at the time. I danced with Tapestry. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but yeah. Gosh, I'm so sad that happened to you.
Oh, there was so much ridiculosity in that. Like we get demerits for all sorts of stuff. And this is very off topic, but like we couldn't, if we were practicing outside in the summer, we couldn't be like, oh, I'm so hot, I'm so sweaty. We'd have to say like, I'm glowing.
I'm glistening.
Yes. Texas drill team culture is a whole thing. But
I got so distracted I forgot the question. I'm like,
I know. I took us on a path. But we were talking about, well, here's the question. Us law moms here who have kids who are going to come to us and say, Mom, so-and-so person said I was fat. Do you think that I weigh too much, etc.? Like, these are questions that a lot of us are going to have to grapple with that are hard. Have you coached your clients through this, thought through this? And if so, what's your philosophy on how to talk to the kids about this stuff?
I mean, that's such a good question because there's so many different scenarios. I did have a client who had a daughter that, they wanted us to coach her. And part of my coaching for them was, I want you to try not to believe your child's story about them being fat. Because I think we feel so like, as a parent, of course, you want to fix their feeling. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that can go in the wrong direction. We're like, I'm going to believe you that you think you're fat. So I'm going to help you solve that problem, even though maybe I know that you're not fat. Or, maybe there is some, health issue or something going on. But it's like, I don't know. I would be like, come get coached first and then talk to your child about it. But if it comes up on you, it's like, I think it's focusing more on like, how does that make you feel? Mm-hmm. What do you think about this scenario? How do you feel about your body? Trying to find some good questions to ask that aren't like, I don't know. I feel like when you tell somebody like, oh, you're not fat, you're beautiful. Like, it's not really that helpful. I think when they come to you with that, they're hurting. They want to be heard. They want to be, held in their emotion. And, I think just asking them questions where they can continue to express themselves is probably the first step.
Yes, I agree with all of that. I mean, I've had to deal with these questions myself with my own kiddo, and one wise person that I was talking to recommended that if there is an issue, that the parent doesn't have to be the one to say it. If the kid's asking about it, it's perfectly reasonable and accurate to say, I'm no expert. I have no idea how things are supposed to be. So let's go find an expert to help, someone who obviously is going to come at it from the right philosophy and mentality. And, like this nutritionist that we work with that says no foods are bad. And when we are attempting to try stuff that maybe isn't, tolerated well by my child's body, that instead of like, oh, you did this thing, you ate this thing that we weren't going to be eating, it's just note it. How does it make you feel? How did it make your body feel? And that happens to us pretty regularly. My kiddo will say like, oh, I ate gluten today. Okay, well, what did you notice? How did it make you feel? And obviously no like restrictions or control or shame around it. I mean, that kind of stuff, I think we know how to do, but when your kid is actually asking you for help, how do you do it in the right way? That can be tricky.
I like what you said. I'm not an expert, because I think as parents, we think we're supposed to be experts at everything and know everything. And that's maybe what we thought what our parents were. And we realized they weren't.
They didn't know anything.
And so, yeah, just being like, I don't actually have the answer to that. Like, or let's figure it out together, and it's like, I'm just so sorry that, this experience happened to you, and let's find the next step together.
Yeah. You have a program coming up for next year that we want people to know about. Can you tell us a little bit about your program?
Yeah. So right now, for the month of December, we are offering our unlimited VIP program. And so this is a full year opt-in. This is like our biggest program. It's our most valuable. We are taking everything we've ever used on ourselves, everything we use on our clients. Sometimes a client will come and we might do like one lab test, like food sensitivities, or we might go through a blood sugar journey with a continuous glucose monitor for a month out of their usual like 3 to 4 months. But we're taking everything and we're packaging it into a 1-year program so that there are no stones unturned. It is a full education, but we also want it to be really fun and valuable to you. And we're even including a retreat to Costa Rica. It's a spa retreat.
Wow.
So it'll be 3-night spa retreat in Costa Rica that we're including as part of our package. We've hosted this retreat twice pre-COVID. So we have a spot that we really love that is really special and offers just space to heal and to, integrate all the things that you learn throughout the year. So yeah, that's our unlimited VIP. So it's really like a complete makeover. It's the year of coaching. We're going to do the lab work. You're going to get 2 alternative labs. These are labs that like your doctor doesn't necessarily do, but it might be a stool test to determine what's going on in your gut. It could be food sensitivity testing. We have a few other tests that our dietitian loves to use on people. So of course, after getting to know you, your goals and your health history, we'll pick the one that's best for you, or the 2 that are best for you. We love the continuous glucose monitor, which is a great way to understand that blood sugar situation, because sure, we know that sugar spikes your blood sugar and you don't have to have diabetes to understand that, but we can learn more deeply how different foods affect your body specifically. We're also going to offer or include a membership to our online course that is also launching next year. So we're going to have a group program and you'll get a year-long membership to that. And then of course, what we offer to all of our clients is our workbook, a yearly planner, and then we're even going to do a book club. So you'll get a quarterly book delivered to your door, and then of course the retreat. So it's just everything all in one year. So
wow.
I'm so excited.
That sounds really cool. And so if people want to check it out, the website is pathnutrition.com, PATH nutrition.com/unlimited. So every week, Jessica, when we do these shows, we ask ourselves 3 questions. What book have we read? What's our dominant thought for the week? And if we were going to give ourselves a gold star for something, what would that be? So let's do that together, if you don't mind. Tell us about what book you're reading right now.
Okay, I pulled it out because I knew you were going to ask me this, but I went to a life coach conference a few weeks ago and they gifted us this book, Traffic Secrets. So it's all about like, optimizing your web traffic and all that. And so It's not like a great, exciting book to read, but it is interesting. And it's funny because sometimes I feel like I approach business the way some people approach their health or weight. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to post 4 times a day on Instagram. But I think, sometimes having the knowledge can be really helpful. So I'm excited to be reading that. What are you reading?
So I am reading about a book. I don't know if that counts, but I'm going to say it counts. I have a new book that I actually got as a Thanksgiving present from a law firm that I'm sure I'll be talking about because it looks so cool. But I recently went to the Texas Conference for Women, and lots of different authors presented. And one of the authors who presented was a guy named Daniel Pink. And he was presenting on his book, The Power of Regret. And I loved the way that he talked about regret, because he starts by saying, in our culture, in our society, there's this like rejection of regret, and he has all these quotes from like RBG and all these fancy people who are like, just don't regret anything. But he said that's not the data and the science shows that every single last one of us lives with regrets. And so trying to pretend like we don't have them is not helpful. And so he has a 3-part method for handling regrets, the regrets that we all know that we're going to have, whatever they may be throughout the day. They may be little things, they may be big things about the person that you didn't tell that you loved, or that, the savings that you didn't put into retirement, or what have you. I'm going to see if I can remember the three methods. So the first thing is to be kind to yourself. That, we all know this, like our self-talk can be really harsh and intense. I'm sure this is something that you coach in your work as well. It's like positive self-talk. So, be kind to yourself as you review the regret. And then the second part that he recommends was a little surprising to me. It's about naming and specifying the regret, maybe even writing it down. Because he said feelings can be really amorphous, and they can just sort of seep, like they can color everything. Like, I just feel generally happy today, or I'm just feeling generally icky today. But if the ick is about a particular regret, if you write it down, like, I really regret XYZ thing, it almost like puts that feeling.
It shrinks it down.
Yes.
That's totally what I do with clients in food, right? Because we might feel like, oh, I'm off the wagon, or I've, and it's like, well, what did you do? Oh, well, I had a cheeseburger. Like, okay.
Yeah. Like what? And then the third part is learning lessons. Take away the lesson from the regret. Check, moving on. It's just the be nice to yourself and take the lesson is pretty routine and standard stuff. But that middle part I thought was cool. And I like it when people research. It's like why I love Brene Brown is when they bring data and research to mindset principles. It just makes it feel more sciencey to me.
Yeah, it's a little bit less woo-woo for sure. That's good. I will check that out. What is the name of it again?
His name is Daniel Pink.
And
The Power of Regret is the name of that book, but he has several.
Yeah, and like one thing real quick before I know we have time or don't have time, but
no,
when we talk about like positive thinking, sometimes it's hard for people to try on. So we talk a lot about neutral thinking, right? So to go back to like, oh, I hate my body. Sometimes saying I love my body doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
So we just start with like, I have a body, so it's like anytime we have those onslaughts of negative thoughts, I can just be like, stop, I have a body. Right. Or, like you said, just being neutral with it and then narrowing it down. That's completely what we do in coaching. It's so, so good.
Oh, I love that. The neutral thinking and like the finding the parts, the gratitude that you can find for the part, the obvious is like, I'm really grateful that my mom belly made these babies, like that. The gratitude is always good. Okay. Dominant thought. Do you have a thought that's looping for you this week?
Yeah. As the holidays arrive and we're doing shopping and gifting for others, it's really easy to be like, ooh, should I get this sweater for myself? And this is a thought that I carry in so many areas of my life that I've really been practicing for the last few weeks. And it's just, I have enough.
Yeah.
I have enough. I have everything I need. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to still buy something for myself, but I think like just, I have enough. I have enough education. I have enough confidence. I have enough sweaters. Like, it's such a good thought to have.
I definitely have enough sweaters. So many sweaters, but they're so cute, except we live in Texas. So
I know I get this idea of like, ooh, it's cold. I should get more winter clothes. And then I only need them for 2 weeks. So.
Right. Yeah. You wear 5 of your 20 sweaters, for the season. So, well, my dominant thought is it's related to the Law Moms Out Loud go on tour. We're giving CLE tours, Hannah and I, and we actually start this afternoon. We have our first CLE presentation on attorney wellness. And so part of the presentation, a part that I have been tasked with is looking into the statistics on attorney mental health. Or lack thereof. And it's been really staggering to think about in my profession of lawyering, in our profession of lawyering. We are sort of predisposed, to mental health stuff because we're so type A, we're so driven, we're so motivated. We're often looking to right some injustice that we might have experienced in our lives. And that so many of us really do, honestly, data, suffer from depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, addiction, divorce, and it's something that I've always known, about lawyers. Like, we're sure are a messed up bunch, but like legit, we are. And so all the more reason to embrace this business of mindset and awareness and choice around optimistic thinking, and stuff like I have enough, which is really important.
Yeah. I find it fascinating because it's like, it's those traits that make you so great at your job.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's like, oh, these are the things that make me a great lawyer. But then when it's too extreme, it can go down that darker path. So
Totally. Yeah.
That's why everybody needs a therapist and a coach.
Yeah. There we go. Agreed. Stamp of approval. Final question for the show is gold stars. We're going to give ourselves gold stars. So do you have one you want to give yourself?
Yeah, and I think it's fitting for this conversation, which is I actually carved out some really great time for self-care this week. It has been challenging because I do have a 2-year-old, and I've only been doing part-time daycare for the last year. So 3 days is not enough time to get everything that needs to get done with work and for me. And so this week I actually went to the chiropractor and I booked lunch with a friend. And sometimes that can feel indulgent, or we can, the self-doubt comes up about that. Like, is that really the best use of my time? Or, but I was like, no, this is what I need to fill my cup this week. And I feel great about it.
Good. And you get a gold star on top of it. My gold star is in the category of motherhood. My older child is in this teeny tiny little, they call it a micro school. That's a thing. I didn't know that until my kid was in one. And we recently, the parent group and the school, realized, we did a budget meeting. It's like, oh, we really need 5 more kids in the school to really be thriving financially. And it was like, this is calling upon a skill that I have. I know how to, market and have a campaign and do all of this. And so we've developed a whole plan to get these kids into the school, and I've been able to be involved. And I'm not a PTA mom typically. I don't volunteer at the, the Halloween festival to make the whatever. I just I can't. But I felt like, I get to be a mom involved in school in an area that is an area where I can be useful and I enjoy it. And so that felt good.
Good. And you're saving the school.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see. Hope it works. I said to my husband, I'm like, I hope we don't send out all these postcards and nothing happens. But we'll see. I think it's going to be good. If anybody's interested, it's in Austin, Central Austin. We're hosting a winter camp / open house the last week of AISC break. And this is a school that has kids ages 5 to 18 can be in this. It's a free democratic school where the kids have a lot of choice and autonomy over their learning. It's called self-directed education. I've been, learning all about that. And it's really good for free thinking and creative kiddos. So if you're interested, reach out, message us on Law Moms Out Loud. I'll tell you all about it. All right, Jessica. Well, everybody, if you are interested in this, something VIP, what's it called?
Limited VIP.
Limited VIP, and all of that comes with it. Next year, go to pathnutrition.com/unlimited and talk to Jessica, because she's very smart at what she does, obviously. Thank you, Jessica, for being here.
Thank you. It was so fun.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Mhm.